So, my poor little girl, I was talking to my friend the Contessa, and she told me she'd heard people at court say the rudest things about your late family.
I suppose they might have done. Sometimes people will say things that are quite unkind. I try not to let it bother me.
Still, it must be awfully hard being a new money family when there are so many busybodies who go on and on about tradition and blue blood and that sort of thing.
Oh, I don't think so. Some people will say cruel things about anybody. I've heard them say things even about the Contessa, too. So it wasn't just us.
About the Contessa, really? I thought you said you didn't listen to that sort of thing.
I try not to. But Titanico talked about it sometimes. I think he knew the Contessa's last husband before he passed away.
My goodness! Surely he didn't imply that she was in any way responsible. That would be unthinkable.
Well, he did say there were rumors. But I'm sure that's all they were. Like I said, people say nasty things sometimes.
Yes, my dear. They most certainly do. Contessa, darling, I just heard a delectable little morsel of gossip and simply must share it with someone.
Why, some scrumptious gossip is just what I need right now. Do tell me more, dear.
I was talking to the Leah girl, you know, Sharice's little hanger-on, and she hinted that she'd been feuding with her family and was more or less kicked out of the house.
Oh my, how sad for the poor young thing.
To be honest, if she lived with me, I'm quite sure I'd do the same. But do you know anything about who she is?
I dare say I know a little. Her parents were wealthy moguls in the technology sector. That is, until about a year ago.
Oh, of course they were. No wonder I didn't know who she was. I find all that technobabble so terribly dull. So, what happened?
Someone leaked the company's most sensitive records that suggested corporate espionage and other unsavory business. Thanks to a rather exorbitantly priced lawyers.
I see. Do you think, then, that our very own Miss Leah was
the one to leak the files? Oh, darling, it's unseemly to speculate.
A self-righteous brat. My time was up. The police would be here any minute, and I certainly couldn't afford for those louts to come to their own misguided conclusions. Of course, at this point, I couldn't 100% guarantee that my own ideas would be correct, but at the very least, they would be a lot more entertaining. Wonderful. Everyone's here. I guess that means we can begin.
Begin, what exactly?
Why, exposing the murderer, of course.
You mean you know who it is?
Of course I do, my dear. Don't you?
Well, no. I'm not sure. At least not yet.
Pity. You were the one who said we had to see the truth for ourselves or something, weren't you? Well, it's a good thing that at least one of us has been busy this past little while.
Come now, darling, you simply can't keep us in suspense like this. Are you going to tell us or not?
Yeah, after all this, it better be good. Not that I'm getting my hopes up or anything, mind you.
Tut-tut. All in good time, my dear little girl. First, we all need to agree on some basic facts. Mr. Klops, you've been posted out in front of the house ever since we found the body, yes?
Yes, ma'am. That's right.
And did you see anyone leaving the house? Or anybody hanging about at all?
No, ma'am. There was no one there. And nobody would have got past me, that's for sure.
No, I'm sure they wouldn't. That glowering gaze of yours alone would be enough to send them scurrying back the way they came. As for the rest of us, did anyone find any trace of a break-in? Broken windows, muddy footprints, anything at all?
Indeed not. I saw nothing of the sort, and if I might say so, a magician's eyes are trained to spot even the smallest of details.
I didn't see anything either. Not a thing.
Good then, so we agree. Nobody else has entered or left the house, which means that the killer is one of us, right here in this room.
Darling, this is just too much. If you make us wait even a moment more, I shall need a glass of brandy and a bottle of smelling salts.
Oh, I'll take more orange juice. If someone is getting drinks, that is.
Yes, sir. But first, how about we hear who did it?
This is it then. There's no going back. It's time to end this. Whoever I point to now is not going to be terribly pleased with me. But that's fine, as I'm not terribly pleased with them either. If they wanted to have half a chance of getting away with this, they made a most misfortunate choice in trying to frame me. It was you, Horatio. You killed Prince Titanico.
Me? Misfortune, surely you jest.
Horatio, my dear, I think we all agree that if anyone here is a jester, it's definitely you.
No. I am not a jester, a wizard, a sorcerer, a warlock, if you will. I'm absolutely sure we've been over this before.
Yeah. Grand goofus of the court or whatever it was. Can we get to the point? Why do you think he did it?
Yes, why would I kill my oldest and closest friend? I am more distraught by this terrible affair than anyone. Completely and utterly distraught.
Yes, motive. To answer that question, I think we need to first understand why we're all here for this little party at all. Before he left us for the last time, the prince said that he would return with an announcement. I have an inkling of what it might have been. From the beginning, I've had the nagging impression that this entire evening was a show staged for just one special someone. That someone is you, Miss Charisse.
A show? For me?
Yes, for you. It's no secret to any of us at this point that you and the prince had been, shall we say, stepping out as of late. And so the climax to the prince's little drama is obvious. He was going to ask for your hand in marriage. That's why he had this with him, isn't it?
Hey, where'd you get that?
Now, all in good time. For now, it's enough to prove the prince's intent. You don't look surprised, my dear.
No. Not completely surprised, anyway.
My, a grand public proposal then.
That's my friend. He was always such an incurable romantic.
Romantic? Oh, you poor naive boy. This was nothing of the sort. It was a cold, calculated move designed by the prince to get the result he wanted. Whisk the object of his affections out of her element into a strange and unfamiliar house, frighten her with ghost stories all evening, and then make a sweeping public proposal in front of a group of high society strangers like myself and the Comtessa. Oh, yes, indeed. What girl wouldn't want all of that, I ask you?
Horatio, my friend, tonight will be the night. I have arranged a nice little soiree at the Lee Manor. Just a small affair, so as to be intimate, but with guests that my beloved does not know well. The setting should be perfect.
And you're going to propose right there, in front of everyone?
Yes, when the time is right. Of course, we must set the mood first. A flash of lightning, a clap of thunder, a macabre historical tidbit or two, and perhaps a little surprise courtesy of your talents, just to add a little more flair.
Why, of course. I can conjure up just the thing for you, I'm sure. But do you really think this will work?
My dear friend, how little you understand of the fair sex. This girl, she is pure as the fallen snow. She only sees the best in everyone. We have nothing to fear. She will be as putty in my hands.
I really must confess, it was all quite masterfully done. Rejecting a proposal under such circumstances would be unbelievably awkward, both socially and psychologically. Not a bad one to remember from my own books, I think.
This is all pure conjecture and, I might add, completely ridiculous.
Yes, you would be quite the authority on the ridiculous, wouldn't you?
But be all of that as it may, you still have yet to get to the part where I have even the slightest reason to kill anybody.
Is that so? I rather thought by this point that would be obvious. It's the oldest tale in the book, really. 2 men, 1 beautiful, charming, an extraordinarily wealthy young girl. You couldn't let Titanico marry Charisse because you wanted to marry her yourself.
That's...
All of your life, you've lived in your friend's shadow, haven't you? And here he was, planning to marry a dream wife under your very nose. It was too much. He had to be stopped. She had to be yours.
Well, now, you see, you look here. While, of course, I have nothing but admiration for Miss Charisse, I mean, it's just, as you say, who wouldn't? But the incontrovertible point here is, how could I possibly have killed the prince when I was the one in the basement busily fixing the lights at the time?
Ah, excellent. So we've moved on from the why to the how. Indeed. How was the prince killed after all?
How? Don't we know how? Took a shiv right to the back.
I'm not so sure it's that simple.
To be fair, we can't really fault Mr. Klops here for seeing only half the picture. The prince was stabbed, yes. But is that what killed him? I think that the prince... was pushed first. Let's use our heads, shall we? What was the prince doing when he left us?
He was going to answer the phone.
Yes, and there's a phone on the landing at the top of the double stairs. I think he was pushed from there and was only stabbed later, perhaps just to make sure.
Now that you mention it, there was something funny about the way he was lying.
I saw it too. I'm thinking it's very likely that the fall broke his leg.
Well, all that goes to show that it couldn't possibly have been me. Are you really suggesting I had time to go to the basement, run back up at the phone call, push the prince from the landing without him or anyone else seeing me, run to where he fell, stab him, run back downstairs, and then fix the lights? I'm a wizard, not a marathon runner.
Does seem like a bit of a tall order. Far more likely, someone trailed the prince from the dining room when he went to take the call.
I could swear that reminds me of something. Oh, yes, Misfortune. Am I wrong, or didn't your third husband die from a rather tragic tumble down the hall stairs?
Well, yes, he did, but I hardly see how that's relevant.
Oh, so you're saying she's got experience? Good enough for me. My vote is we check Misfortune here for the knife too. Who knows? Might settle the whole thing right now.
Searched? Me? I really think that's going a bit too far.
Oh, really? Seems pretty tame to me, compared to the alternatives.
Well, when you put it that way.
Don't worry, darling, I'll spare you from Mr. Klops here. Just let me see your bag. Good heavens! There is a knife in here!
A knife? I knew it. It was bad luck that killed my friend after all. The bad luck was you!
Wizard boy, I think you're about the only one who didn't get that wordplay the first time round.
There's blood on the blade, and it's the same shape as the wound on the prince.
So that's why you had the boss's ring. You just killed him to take it off him.
Listen, I know it all looks bad.
Oh yeah, it looks bad.
I'm ever so sorry, dear, but we're going to have to hand you over to the police as soon as they get here. A complete scandal for you. I know, but one does what one must.
I hear them coming now. I'll go let them in, and then justice will be served.
All this, just for some jewelry? Was that really it, Misfortune?
Sherry has so much trouble believing the worst of people. Luckily, I've got no such problem. Just think, a dank, cold, dreary, sunless prison. You'll fit right in.